Now our grandmother moon cycle starts in the new moon. You can see over here, this is the full moon. It's lit up, so it's a full moon. This over here to my right, this orange ball, that's going to be the sun. And of course right here is our Mother Earth. The moon cycle in the very beginnings of our Mother Earth, the very beginnings of our solar system begins in a new moon cycle. So you have the moon, you have our Mother Earth, you have our eldest brother, the sun, that are there. The building blocks of creation, the same way as that all of us, the way that we came into being when we're in the womb of our mother, we start off, the building blocks of life are within the amniotic fluid held by our mother. This is the sacred stuff of life of which we are made of. And in the womb of our mother, within the egg that we originate from, is the blueprint to all of creation. So not only is the building blocks of creation there, like the things that make our flesh, our bones, our eyeballs, our brains, all of this stuff, it is there within the amniotic fluid. But what is also there is design. If not, each of us, if there was no design, each of us would end up being something else. Each of us would be different from each other. But the fact that we are all alike, we all look alike, we all grow the same way, the same thing, that identifies that there is design. So within the amniotic fluid of our mother, the building blocks of creation is our design. Our mother designs us. She carries the design. So within the building blocks of creation of our solar system, you have our eldest brother, the sun, our Mother Earth, our grandmother moon. Of course, these things are duplicated with each other, with each planet. You have the moon, and the same processes for each planet. But within this particular phase, we start at a new moon. The new moon is heated up by our eldest brother, the sun. When you get close to any heat source, you get hot. Like right now, I'm sweating. I'm close to the stove. You can't tell, there's a wood stove behind me. I'm hot like hell right now. So when you get close to a heat source, you get hot. And when you get hot, you expand. So when our grandmother moon is in new moon phase, which you can never see, you never see the new moon because she is in between our Mother Earth and our eldest brother, the sun. So when she is in the new moon phase, in the beginning phase, she gets heated up by our eldest brother, the sun. She expands on the face that is closer to the sun. Now the earth, our grandmother moon is divided into two at that instance. One side is receiving the heat of the sun, the light, so the far side of the moon is in light. It's hot. Now the side facing us, of course, you can't see it, there's no light, it's dark and it's cold. So you have a division upon our grandmother moon of hot and cold. It is always there. The division is always there in our grandmother moon. But it is not always in the specific place. Like when our grandmother moon is in new moon directly between the earth and the sun, you can say the division is directly half of our grandmother moon. That changes as our grandmother moon goes around our Mother Earth. Now you can't see it, but it is an internal change that happens. You can't see that our grandmother moon is hot, but as she is in new moon phase, the face facing the earth being cold, when she starts going around the earth, now the face facing the earth that was cold is now facing the sun more and more until it comes around until full moon. So now when it's full moon, the face that was dark is now light. It's receiving the heat from the sun. So not only is it light, now it's heating up. On the opposite side, from where it was heating up when it was in new moon phase. So what you have is what science today identifies. It tells you that the moon does not rotate. The moon, our grandmother moon, does not rotate while it's going around our Mother Earth. It goes around, but there is always only one face that we are locked into. There's like a solid connection between our grandmother moon and our Mother Earth. So we always only see that one face. So science tells you that there is no rotation, that the moon does not rotate like this, so to speak. I don't know if you can see that.
Just too close. Yeah, too close.
So the moon does not rotate, meaning while it's going around the earth, it does not turn like this. It doesn't turn like that. While it's going around the earth, it is always looking like this. Always. So this is the reason why science tells you that there is no rotation to our grandmother moon. This is a lie. Science is lying to you. There is a rotation, and that is identified through the internal heat signature upon our grandmother moon. What is turning is not the body of the moon. The body of the moon is not turning like this. But as the moon goes around the earth, like this. Again, the example is, while I'm here, my back is hot. And my face is cold. Because it's facing away from the heat source. But as I turn around the earth like this, well now, my right side that was getting heat is no longer getting heat. So my right side is getting cold. And now my left side is getting heat, so it's getting warm. And so when I move around here, the hot and the cold is shifting around in my body. It is rotating internal. Here is the internal heat signature that rotates inside of our grandmother moon. This is the spirit in our grandmother moon. So anyways, this is what happens as the moon goes around our Mother Earth. There is an internal rotation of heat, which ends up heating up first my backside, and then my left side, and then my front, and then my right side, and then my backside again. So if you can see me from the top of my head, you would see that, what could I use as an example? If you could see the top of my head divided, you would see it turning like that inside, even though I am staying still. So, our grandmother moon, first thing you need to know is that modern science is holding back the truth from you about our grandmother moon, about there being a rotation. Our grandmother moon does have a rotation, but it is internal, and it is heat as a direct cause from the interaction with our eldest brother, the sun. That's the first thing you need to know. Now, there's a lot of things that happen. Here, when you're close, when our grandmother moon is closest to the sun, well, like you're close to a fire, again, you expand. What happens when you expand? Your pores expand, your pores open. What happens when your pores open? What happens to you is you sweat. Water comes out of your body. Now we all know that we are approximately 74% water, whatever they say. We're actually 100% water. But look at you right now. Look at the person next to you. Do you see any water coming out of that person? You see water coming out unless you're watching somebody go to the bathroom, but otherwise, there's no water coming out of you. So, that means that our atmosphere, our skin, is so watertight that no water escapes us. But when we get hot, then water pours out of us. So it shows us that there is a doorway from the internal to the external. That all of a sudden, water that was exclusively on the interior of our body, all of a sudden, it's on the exterior of our body. And when it's on the exterior of our body, it is then subjected to the laws of the larger world, where, well, as long as it's in our body, well, that water is inside of us. It's not leaving us. So it may still be subjected through gravity and other forces like that, but it's pretty much contained. So it's a limited subjection. So when our grandmother moon is here and she's sweating, her pores are open because she's so hot. Because the distance from the far side of our grandmother moon when she's in new moon to the far side when she's in full moon is approximately 800,000 kilometers. That's a long ways. 800,000 kilometers. And when you're getting close to a heat source, 800,000 kilometers makes a difference between you freezing or burning up, one or the two. So here, when our grandmother moon's in you, her pores are expanding because she's so hot. Concentrated blood in your body, you know where you would go? You would go to your heart. Concentrated blood. So, our Mother Earth, our grandmother moon, has the water within her, and so when her pores open, because she's close to the fire and she starts to sweat, the water comes out of her. Well, what happens is there's combined with the so-called solar winds that are leaving our eldest brother, the sun, and traveling outwards into our solar system. Well, the water leaves our grandmother moon and gets caught in those solar winds. And those solar winds then bring that water, and it's in new moon phase, brings that water right to the beautiful face of our Mother Earth. And then, when we're in full moon, when we're here, the far side of the moon is dark. You can't see it. That means 800,000 kilometers further from the heat source, and plus you're completely closed off to having access to light. So that means the far side of the moon is freezing cold now. And when it's freezing cold, just like you, what happens? Well, your pores close, you shrink, you shrivel up, you contract. That's what happens to anything when it gets cold. Now again, that's the far side of the moon. But in full moon phase, you can see that the light is on our grandmother moon, which means she's receiving heat from our eldest brother, the sun. Which means that while the far side is freezing, now the side closer to us is warming up. So think of it like a sponge, where a sponge full of water, that one side of the sponge is frozen solid. And the other side of the sponge is regular sponge, you can pour water into it. So imagine now, if you're holding that sponge and you pour water into the side that's soft. Well, it'll absorb the water, but the water will not go through because on the other side, it's frozen. So, if you had a sponge that was like that, you would see, you try this test, you don't have to, but it will show you a simple example, that the water would not go through it. So, our grandmother moon in full moon phase is like a sponge for water. What water? The water that first came off of our grandmother moon when she was in new moon phase and she was hot, and that water, what she sweated, got caught in the solar winds and came to our Mother Earth. Now our Mother Earth in, doesn't matter what season, in whatever season, one part of the earth, many parts of the earth today because of global climate change, are heating up. And as it heats up, gets hot in the summertime, you see this all the time. In the early mornings or in the early evenings, you will see mist rising off of the ground. You will see fog in the fields. And what you're seeing, of course, is the water leaving our Mother Earth because she got hot and she's sweating. Well, you know that you get hot and you sweat and the water leaves your body. So when she sweats, you see the fog on the ground, but you don't see that water continuing to rise. If you see fog on the ground, knowing that that means water is rising off the ground, where do you think that water goes? Do you think it would end just right there, where, let's say, 10 feet off the ground where you see the fog? No, that water continues to rise until, just like us, it leaves our atmosphere. Not all the water leaves our atmosphere, just like you. When you sweat, not all the water comes out of your body. There is a natural retaining system within your body that keeps the waters within and balanced, where you're not going to be losing all your water. So, our Mother Earth has this same process. So, our Mother Earth is always constantly heating up and sweating, condensation, and that condensation also gets caught in the solar winds. And when that's caught in the solar winds, it brings that water over here to the beautiful face of our grandmother moon. And that beautiful face in full moon phase, mind you, remember again, is that it's heating up. In comparisons to the sun, to that sponge scenario, this side is the part of the sponge that is not frozen, that you're able to pour water in. It absorbs the water. So in full moon phase, our grandmother moon is absorbing the water back from our Mother Earth. Now, as our grandmother moon goes around our Mother Earth, and like everything I always say, don't believe anything that I'm saying, but prove it to be wrong. Which means you got to do your own research, and you'll find you'll come to very easily arrived at conclusions. As our grandmother moon goes around our Mother Earth, she is traveling at approximately 10,348 miles an hour. Miles or kilometers, I forget what it is. Doesn't really matter. The point is here is that our grandmother moon is going around our Mother Earth at a very high rate of speed. Now that very high rate of speed, it has an effect on our grandmother moon. So, as the moon is going around, you have that shift internal in the moon as to where the heat is and where the cold is. But you also have a thing called centrifugal force. Now, centrifugal force of being spun around at 10,348 miles an hour, if we could spin anybody, if we could spin you around that fast, your feet will probably come off. The blood will come right out of your body. Your bones would probably separate. Your body would just probably come apart at that speed. So, imagine our grandmother moon going at that speed. Centrifugal force. Now, some of you may know, may remember that when you were a kid, somebody grabbed you by the hands and spun you around like that. And when that happened to you, you could feel everything in your body go towards your feet. That's the centrifugal force that you feel. That's basic physics. The centrifugal force of our grandmother moon going around that fast causes the water to go through her body, but where it is not frozen. So it can't go through where it's frozen. On the far side of the moon right now, it's frozen solid. So as the moon continues to go around and come back into full moon phase, that means that, again, the part that was frozen is now heating up and opening up again. So what you see here is a valve that opens in new moon and closes in full moon. Just like your heart. Your heart, the valve opens to pump out, the valve closes to let it not, when it goes out, your valve closes so that it doesn't come back in. So there is, in your heart, you know, there's the part that pumps out, and then the pump that pumps it back in. So the part that pumps it back in, the phase, is the new moon phase that pumps that blood back in, because, again, as she heats up, condensation, she sweats, that water comes right back to our Mother Earth. Now all of this, we're going over it really fast. There's a lot of different things that, different parts of it that are I'm overlooking right now. But this is basically the process, the interaction, what happens between our grandmother moon and our Mother Earth. This is the water exchange. This is the equivalent in your body when your heart pumps out the blood and when your heart pumps it back into the heart for it to become rejuvenated, revitalized. And so in the new moon phase, this is the revitalized blood, because it went through the process of, from full moon to new moon, it went through that process of rotating, where through the shift of heat and cold causes the water through the centrifugal force to flow right through the body of our grandmother moon. Just like the same way, again, that the blood flows right through your heart. But your heart, once it pumps out and pumps back in, it has these checks and balances system where once all the blood goes out, the door closes right away so that the blood can't come back in. And this is where you can see it in the dynamics of what is happening to the physical body of our grandmother moon, as she just quite simply rotates around our Mother Earth. But there is something else here. In the very beginning, just like you, when you start off in fetus form in the womb of your mother, there is no body to you yet. You don't, all of a sudden, you're not there, you got arms and legs and brain and all of that, and you're up and walking around. No. You are being built together, put together with the building blocks of creation that is in the amniotic fluid, again, of our mother. So, the very first thing that you are, the very first thing that happens is your heart starts to beat. That in a fetus, the first thing to grow is the heart. But there was some girl that said to me, that's not true. The heart doesn't begin to grow. That's not the first thing. But because she identified that as the cells divide, that's where the body is growing, so that's not the heart. But then I said to her, I says, well, is there blood in those cells? Well, yeah. Well, how did the blood get into those cells? Well, you gotta have a heart, right? Yes. So the first thing is the heart. The thing is today, the people cannot comprehend what is the heart. So what is your heart when you are in fetus form and you are just being formed? What gets the blood into your cells that will eventually become you? Well, of course, it's not your heart that's in here. It's your heart that's in your mother. It's your mother that is your heart. This is the beating heart. And so truly, our hearts, all of us, our hearts go right back to the very instance of creation of Sky Woman herself. This is where our heart comes from. She holds the sacredness of creation. She holds the blueprint. She holds the power. She creates us. She gives us body. She gives us spirit. She gives us blood. She gives us body. This is the process of how we come into being. But on that fetus level, when we are growing, in order for the body to grow, for us to take physical form, there is something that happens. And this happens on this level of our grandmother moon and our mother earth also. There is something that started our mother earth turning. And that is our grandmother moon. The same way that what started your body growing is your heart. So what started our mother earth turning is our grandmother moon. How? How did our grandmother moon start our mother earth turning? Well, you know that there's an umbilical cord. It is a direct link. It's a solid physical link between us, between the body of our grandmother moon and our mother earth. And what that solid physical link is blood. It is the water. That is the solid physical link. And so we know that you can say almost like as if there is a rod, a stick, anything? A stick, anybody got a stick? Small stick?
Here I have one right here.
Oh wait, look, there's something right here. Perfect, look at this. You can put, hey look at that, it's almost the right size. You can put this stick, I don't know if you could see it in the video, directly in between our mother earth and our grandmother moon. That is the solidness that connects the two. So when our grandmother moon started turning around the earth, that's what started turning our mother earth. It's like a bicycle. You know, if you got a 10-speed bicycle, you don't start off on the biggest, hardest gear. You start on the smallest gear. That's where you start. And that's what starts turning. But when you see that, let's say for instance, if the moon, we start off in new moon phase, the heat is going to hit the moon, our grandmother moon first. And then it's going to hit our mother earth. So let's see, how does the moon start our mother earth turning? Because if the heat caused our grandmother moon to move, well, what it would do is it would just push the moon right into the earth. But since there is a solid physical thing in between, if it just heated up the moon and pushed the moon towards the earth, well, it would push the earth also. And it would just start going further and further away from the sun. What would stop it? Or, if the moon heated up, it would just push that solid link being there, it would just push the moon around until it ended up over here in full moon phase. What would keep it rotating? What would keep it coming around? What makes the moon cause our mother earth to rotate, to turn? There's something that we are not considering here. We are looking at basically just two dimensions, because we're looking at how the heat and the solar winds hit the moon, hit our mother earth, and what the reaction is. Where the key is, what causes our grandmother moon to make our mother earth turn? There is something in the shape. It is hidden in the shape of what we are. Like we said, there is the blueprint there in the womb of our mother. We got the building blocks of life. She's got the building blocks of life, but she's also got the blueprint that makes us look a certain way. It's predetermined as to how we are going to be. Everything in creation, it's predetermined how it is going to be, how those building blocks of life that are the same for all of us, how they are put together to look like you, or a giraffe, or an elephant, or a rock. It's already predetermined. So, the shape of us predetermines how our grandmother moon got our mother earth to rotate. Don't forget, we are predetermined. What makes us look like what we look like? DNA. So let's look at the shape of DNA. Earth, grandmother moon. So here's the heat. Heat puts things in motion. Heat causes things to move. So heat, in this scenario, where's it going to make our grandmother moon move to? Like we said, it should just push her straight ahead into our Mother Earth. But because there is that solid link, it pushes the moon to the side. But when we're dealing with movement and heat, knowing that the heat from the sun and all of that winds are also coming on this side, when the moon comes back over this way, well, that heat and that wind would push the moon back to being in the position of full moon. Why does that not happen? Because here we're dealing with a flat plane. For instance, if this is the sun, here's the earth, here's the moon. We're looking at it flat. We're not looking at it with a predetermined shape. The predetermined shape, like what you identified, is DNA. What is the shape of DNA? Okay.
Spiral.
So DNA is the spiral. And as you know, the links between... I'm running out of ink already, I think. So, who knows what direction that spiral goes? Counterclockwise. It goes like this. So the rotation is actually this way. If you can look at it from above, you would be seeing this. So the rotation So, if we start off from this point, here's our grandmother moon, here's our Mother Earth, the sun over here, heating up our grandmother moon. When she gets hot, what is she doing? She is rising, following the design of the DNA, following the design of the spiral. So soon as she gets heat, she is rising, going like this. If we're looking from the top, it just looks like she's spinning. But if we're looking at it in 3 dimensions, she's spinning, but in order for her to spin, she's rising up the DNA. This is how our grandmother moon got our Mother Earth to start rotating. Through, quite simply, heating up. What is our grandmother moon? Our grandmother moon is concentrated water. You might say, well, that's she's this mineral, she's that mineral, she's solid mass, whatever. She's concentrated water. And what happens when you boil water? Steam, pressure. Which way does it go? Does it go down? Sideways?
Up.
It goes up. It will, if it's in an enclosed whatever, it'll bust out of whatever the weakest point is. But then it's going to be subjected to the next realm of reality, what it's in. And then, like all smoke, all everything, heat, steam, whatever, rises. Causes something to rise. So our grandmother moon, when she gets heated up for the first time from our eldest brother, the sun, her connection to our Mother Earth, she heats up, she starts to rise up the structure of DNA. And as she rises, because of that connection to our Mother Earth, she pulls our Mother Earth along with her. What is actually happening, and science identifies this today, well, we are in a pattern in the solar system. We are in a spiral, not only in our solar system, in the galaxy. in the universe. We are in a continuous spiral. So as long as that design of DNA is there and the people know the design of DNA, then you could see that when you start at the bottom, what starts the process? Climbing and building. Well, what is it that starts the process of building between, let's say, break it down to between a woman and a man? It's the heat that takes place between them. And that heat that takes place between them will spark another life and grow and grow and grow. And they'll grow up the evolutionary ladder. So here, what we are getting a glimpse of is we are seeing how the heart starts the body. How in our own bodies, the heart starts your body. And the heart is not your heart. The heart is your mother's heart. And your mother's heart is not her heart. It's her mother's heart. And it's not her heart, it's her mother's heart. Until it goes all the way back, each of these steps being our ancestry, them having their own life force to create the next one, they got it all from the first one. Sky Woman herself. And this is the process of the heat she created in the universe, in our solar system, I mean. If you can imagine this system as a box, like a shoe box. Or like our mother's womb. Yeah. Okay, so like our mother's womb, it's filled with the amniotic fluid. It's filled with the water of life. Now, this is how physical matter comes into being. Don't forget that out of water, the amniotic fluid in our mother's womb, or as we enter the womb, that amniotic fluid, we magically come out of that. The end of that process, you look at the beginning of the process, it's just water. It's just, that's all it is. Nothing solid in there. At the end of the process, just like looking in a factory production line of cars or something. Look at the beginning, you don't know what the hell it is. At the end, well, you have a finished product. Now at the end of this, the finished product is us. So out of nothing comes us, but the nothing is water. So this is how physical matter comes into being. We fill up this box, or this whatever, with water. Put all water in there. Fill it up until it gets so compacted. What happens at the center? Just like you know that at the bottom of the ocean, that the pressure is so intense, so strong, because of all the weight of the water on top of it, that at a certain point there becomes a nuclear reaction, an atomic reaction, where under the weight, the pressure of itself, it just collapses into itself. And when that happens, there's an electrical charge. And when there's that electrical charge, that's when those particles, those molecules start to fuse together. So here, if this would be at first the womb of our mother, it will end up being the body of our Mother Earth. Because at the center of all the water, all the droplets of water, in the center takes on physical matter. When physical matter starts, it collapses into itself, the atomic reaction, it fuses together, then the gravity causes these other particles to fuse together, adding and adding and adding on more and more to the body of physical matter. And so as the body of physical matter grows through this process of just water combining with each other, but under at a certain point when this reaction happens, then the water changes due to its own densities. What we are looking at here is densities, temperatures, and pressures. That water creates its own reactions, causes its own actions and reactions, where you get all this water together, it creates density. Density creates pressure. Pressure creates temperature. This is what creates the body to grow and to grow and to grow. How physical matter comes into being. This is how the heart begins to grow at the center. But again, that heart is not a heart unto itself. It is linked to the heart of its mother through how and where all of this water came from in the first place. So we are in a, of course, we notice we're in a continuous cycle of renewal. But today's science, today's male-dominant, man-made science is a corruption of the reality of creation. And it does not tell you the simple truths of how physical matter was created, how the physical matter of the body of our Mother Earth, of our solar system was created. When we consider this process of what creates the Earth, it's the same process of what created our solar system. It's the same process of what created you on your collective level of molecules. It's the same process that created each individual molecule within your body. It is a renewal, a constant renewed cycle on every level that causes an accumulative evolution. It is the natural process in creation. But again, science prevents you from knowing the truth. Science tells you, and I'll challenge any of you, to go and do a little research tonight about our grandmother moon. And I guarantee you're going to find, look at something like Discovery Channel or National Geographic, anyone talking about our grandmother moon. What they're going to tell you is that the moon is a cold, dead, lifeless place. So they do not even tell you the fact what a 5-year-old could tell you, if once they contemplate it, wait a minute, our grandmother moon expands in new moon phase, she contracts in full moon phase. At the very least, you would know that there is some kind of chemical reaction, some kind of life happening upon and within and through our grandmother moon. Science knows this. Science is holding back this truth from you. But there is so much more to this, like we said, just the few things that we covered. Normally a moon teachings, if I wasn't doing it so fast, we could go on for hours and there would be so much more information that we would convey. But just for right now, for this basic stuff, this is the reason why. When we are talking about everything that we discussed today here in the process of the reconstitution of the eagle and the condor, everything that we discussed, we see an insane process that humans, that people have abominated themselves into. It's an actual reversal of the process of life. And what that process is the so-called colonization, the genocide process that is taking place. When we consider this, everything that we discussed today and everything else that we know has happened, continues to happen, what is the true intent behind this genocide? What is the true target? When the non-native people came here, what did they do? What they did is they sought out knowledge and they destroyed it. Knowledge of what? What did our people have knowledge of? Our people had knowledge of, we know as a matter of fact, that our people had knowledge of how to human scientifically engineer corn, how to feed our children. And that, as we know, that does not grow naturally. That was human scientifically engineered. Our people engineered that out of the building blocks of creation. out of what our mothers gave us. That is knowledge. Whereas on the opposite end today, what you have is like GMOs, you're doing the exact opposite to that process. They went after that knowledge. What other knowledge did they go after? Well, let's look at when they attacked our Mayan sisters and brothers. What is the knowledge that our Mayan sisters and brothers had? Was it of how to bake a good cake? No, it was the knowledge of the universe. The knowledge of where this planet is, where that planet is, this constellation, that. Where is the moon going to be at this time? They had complete knowledge of the body of Sky Woman. And what that knowledge was able to extrapolate that into everyday application of how to live in balance in creation by using the knowledge and information that creation itself gives us, and to decipher that as to how we fit into this place in time, what we are supposed to do. And then we look further as to the knowledge that they came here to destroy when they came into my ancestors, my people, the Kanienkehaka. The knowledge to human scientifically engineer how to achieve Gayandawana, balance, peace. These are very sacred human knowledge of evolution. Food, knowledge of space and time, where we are. Knowledge of how to live in peace, of how to be in this space and time. This is what we discussed today. Everything that we discussed today, this is why the non-native came here. They came here to destroy the knowledge of creation. Because if you can destroy the knowledge of creation, you can destroy creation. And this is precisely what every false man-made religion is created for, to destroy the knowledge of creation. Because when you look at every religion, how it is bastardized, the natural process of our mothers bearing us, of our mothers giving birth to us, they change it to male, where it does not happen. It is not a natural part of creation. But also with the knowledge of how to live in balance within this place and this gift that we have been given. Man, creating God in his image, put himself as God over his own mother. And this grants him the right to destroy his mother. But he can only do this when all knowledge is gone. Because if he's in the process of destroying and he discovers this knowledge, he will go crazy, he will self-implode. And so, what we are truly looking at when we discuss the reconstitution of the condor and the eagle, we are looking at how to begin, again, right down on this level. How to start again, right back from scratch. To create our DNA over again. To redo what we had to do in the past to get to where we are today. There is a monster that came into our house and disrupted the beauty of this process and destroyed it and tear it all apart. Our responsibility, of course, is to not let this happen. Our responsibility is to retain all of the knowledge from the beginning of time to where we are now. Because all of that knowledge of everything that has happened is in our DNA. It is in us. All we have to do is follow the blueprint. This is all we have to do. To follow the blueprint, you must be free of the corruptions that came into our house to destroy us. You must break free of those things. And you, the individual, must return to the truth of what is at our core. And what is at our core is not male. It is our mother. It is her heart that pumped the blood into our heart. She gave us her life. She sacrificed herself for us. And we are following the stupid people of religion into the wars that are being spread around this world to destroy and disrupt our mother's creation, you get out of that religion. If you don't get out of that religion, it will be you that will be destroying this process. Our mothers must pull their heads out of that rear end of false man-made religion. Our mothers must get out of there. Our mothers must get back to this process to make sure it starts over again. This is our responsibility. This is what the non-native came here for, to steal the knowledge of who we are, what we are, when we are. It is only us that can determine these things, and it is therefore only us that can determine exactly what is happening to us, and therefore know exactly what to do to reverse this corruption. So, reconstitution of the eagle and the condor. We are facing something that the United Nations made very clear to you. 11 years. We are all fulfilling a role. And like somebody said earlier, it's not a matter of that we just stumbled into this. Each of us have been placed here in this space and time. So the reconstitution of the eagle and the condor, we do not need 1 million people. We do not need all the people in the world. What we need is quality people. People who are sincere. People who know precisely what we are working for, what we are fighting against. This is what we need. Our Mother Earth is not going to be concerned with your personal problems, given the fact that the personal problems are actually the contributing factor into destroying our Mother Earth. So, we're going to fix it. And we know exactly what we have to do to fix it. So we can wait for people, or else we can take action. The bell has rung, so to speak. We know our mother is in the emergency room dying and nobody is attending to her. Is there a doctor in the house? All the doctors are not answering. You know what that means? Responsibility is upon us, no one else. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Contemplate this. Contemplate who you are, what you are, when you are. And see what you're going to do about things. See if you're going to find your humanity to make you stand up and do something. We'll go future time. Like we said before, if you can get a moon teachings going and wherever you are, we'll go to your place or we'll do a live Zoom session, whatever. But this is the kind of information that must get out to the people. So.
Edith Sista Socorro Castellán, Naxota Yondatisco, Francisca Rueda, Zapotecni Hunsage, Mexican Wanerista, Yanatahuni Yokinastadista, Antoharaga Ganasesne, and Yangahaga Ganawage, and Wesni Hunsage, and Warage Gawanage, the Ichinowarado Garuma Garia Gesto, Dano Yankisota, Santanato Garaqua, and Yankinista, Yuhunsage, Danagoya, Guscatle Gunumwe. The Ichinowarado, Tarugawa, Danosawiskara, Tinikanya Taragero. Aguego ununque su'a, vire su'a, pacinua su'a, katsa su'a, usitana ku'a, tano ague cantillo. Honeste, osehera dano osra, tano ague donhets, guarda, garion lesa, scano guatarana, chuahuncia, chineca garaqua, dano yamsoto, rediweres, asanigatara, que neganyanga haga, yadiñato, natahioni, dano, lutiscarewake. Ayunki adagang halanda warang hetsra ne weka watsiri dano weka tsam hayang ne weni hunsaga ne ono warage gawanoge dano yukinista ayunsage tintin warado jakun sese dano de ganawita dano weka odiane dano rodiane ne yohahiyo kanikurio dano gayandawana gayanara saragoa dano tegni de yohade Ayunki adagang halanda warang hetsra ne ga substansra ne gunungwa dano gayandawana ga substansra dunungwa Ayun kita gan halanda warang hetsera neskana gasa stansara no gari wawarishan sera ano nawata na yudaksa eresawet tagay na yotarin sa manigura.
Now we'll go bring the knowledge back. Hona.